Do you remember? What if the person you are looking for is not someone you need to become? What if it is someone you need to remember? Because I think a lot of us are searching, working on ourselves, trying to improve, fix, grow, become better version of who we are. And sometimes that is beautiful. But sometimes I wonder, what if we are not missing something? What if we are just covered up? Welcome to Your Amazing, your space to pause, to calm down, reconnect to your roots, awaken your spirit, and remember what truly matters. This podcast is called Your Amazing for a reason. You are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. You're not a problem to be fixed. Even when life is messy, even when you feel lost, there is still wisdom in you. And today, I want to explore what gets in the way of actually believing that. Because most of us do not walk around feeling whole. We walk around with a story, a set of things we keep telling ourselves about who we are, what we are capable of, and what we are not. And those things feel like self-awareness. They feel honest. But sometimes they are just old noise. And today I want to ask a different kind of question. Not who are we becoming, but who have we always been underneath all of it? I'm Jorma, a coactive coach with more than 20 years of experience in corporate. And today we are looking at something that I think is one of the most quietly courageous acts there is. Remembering who you are. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, hit follow. It helps more people find this space. Thank you for being here. Let's pause and look at this together. So, I want to share something personal. There was a period in my life, a long one, where I was very focused on becoming a better coach, a better leader, more disciplined, more consistent, more structured. And I was working hard at it. Reading, reflecting, pushing. And underneath all of that was a quiet assumption I had never really examined. That who I already was not quite enough. That the real version of me was somewhere ahead. Something I was still building towards. And then something shifted. I cannot tell you it was one moment. It was more like a gradual returning. I started noticing things. The way I naturally slow down in conversations when something important is being said. The way I find meaning in small moments, like a cup of coffee, a quiet morning, a real exchange with another person. The way I genuinely care, not because I'm trying to, just because I do. These were not things I had built. They had always been there. And somewhere along the way I had stopped seeing them. Because I was so busy trying to improve past them. The work was not to become someone new. The work was to come back, to come home, and to remember that who I already am is actually where I need to start. Not as an excuse to stop growing, but as a foundation to grow from. Because there is a difference between building on top of yourself and building from yourself. And I think a lot of us are exhausted from building on top, right? So let's bring this into everyday life. We all have a story about ourselves, a collection of things we keep telling ourselves formed over years that we carry as if they are facts. I'm just not disciplined. I always overthink. I'm bad at relationships. All these things feel like self-knowledge. They feel honest, like we were seeing ourselves clearly. But here's the question I want to sit with today. What if some of those stories are not self-knowledge, but self-forgetting? What if I'm not disciplined was formed in a moment where you were overwhelmed and you have been confirming it ever since? What if I overthink is actually a sign of how deeply you care? And you just never learned to trust that. The fixed stories are rarely the whole truth. They are labels we gave ourselves at some point, and we kept them because they felt true enough, and because questioning them felt risky. Instead of asking, why am I like this? Which already assumes you know what you are like. Try asking, is this still true? Is this the whole truth? Or is there more of me I have stopped seeing? That is what curiosity does. It doesn't excuse you. It does not let you off the hook. It brings you closer to what is actually true. And often, what is actually true is more interesting, more complex, and more full of possibility than the old story ever was. Growth does not always mean becoming more. Sometimes growth means removing what made you forget yourself. You are not a problem to solve. You are someone worth remembering. So before we go into the pause, I want to say one gentle thing. Sometimes questions like this can touch tender places. So please take care of yourself here. Choose something you feel safe enough to be with today. It doesn't have to be the deepest story. It doesn't have to be the oldest wound. And if something feels overwhelming, unsafe, or too much to hold alone, please reach out to a therapist, a trusted professional, or a crisis support in your country. This podcast is a space for reflection. It is not a replacement for mental health support when deeper care is needed. I will put a resource in the show notes. Take care of yourself. So I have 3 simple invitations for this week. The first invitation is simply to notice one old sentence you carry about yourself. Something you say regularly, something that comes easily, something you have repeated so many times it feels like a fact. I'm not disciplined. I always do this. I'm not the kind of person who. Just name it, hold it gently and ask, is this still true? The second invitation is to wonder where it may have started. Not to digging, not to blame anyone or rewrite your history, just to gently notice, did this begin in a moment where you were less supported than you are today? When you had fewer resources than you have now? Because some of our heaviest stories began when we were carrying more than we should have been carrying alone. You are not the same person who formed them. And the third invitation is to remember one thing that is still true about you. Something that is genuinely you, that you stopped seeing because you were so focused on what you were not. A quality, a value, a way of being in the world. Something someone close to you might name immediately, that you have been taking for granted or taking yourself out of. Let yourself remember it and let it be enough for today. So let's take a moment together and bring to mind one story you carry about yourself. Something you tell yourself often. Something that may limit you, define you, or hold you back. Choose something you feel safe enough to be with today. And say it quietly to yourself. And take a slow breath. And gently ask, is this still true? And take another breath. Is this the whole truth? Or might this be an old sentence I learned somewhere along the way? No need to search too hard. No need to go into the past. Just notice what comes. And take another breath. And now think of a moment, even a small one, when you felt fully yourself. A moment when something in you knew what mattered. Maybe it was with someone you love. Maybe it was in a moment of difficulty where you surprised yourself. Maybe it was something very quiet. A decision, a conversation, a small act of care. And take another breath. That person is not gone. That is not only who you were, that is also who you are. And take one last breath. And quietly say to yourself, I'm not a problem to solve. I am someone worth remembering. And I can start from here. And that is the pause. So here's your question for this week. What have you decided about yourself that deserves another look? Not to tear your story apart, not to pretend the hard things did not happen. Just ask, is this still true? Is this the whole truth? Or is there more of me that I might have stopped seeing? Maybe I'm not lazy. Maybe I'm exhausted. Maybe I'm not too sensitive. Maybe I fear things deeply, and that is not a flaw. Maybe I do not need more discipline. Maybe I need a reason that is truly mine. You are not a problem waiting to be solved. You are alive, still unfolding. And you were always more than the story you learned to carry. If this pause supported you, follow the podcast or share it with someone who may need a moment to remember who they are today. I see you in the next pause. I'm Jorma, and you're amazing. Take care of yourself. Bye.